Hello, welcome to day 18 of October, where we are streaming every single day. Throughout the month of October, I've been building some form software with Next and Hasura, and for the last few days, I thought I'd kind of just do something different and explore some new tools. Um, Today, we'll be having a look at Userbase. Userbase is a great way to create secure and private web apps really by only using JavaScript, HTML, and you don't need CSS to use Userbase, but you can rely on some simple tools, the fundamentals of web development to get going, and you literally can just embed all of the Userbase stuff and get going. You don't even need any fancy frameworks. You can literally use this with vanilla JavaScript and get going. But what I thought would be worthwhile doing is just exploring this with how I would go about creating some kind of authentication, sign in, sign up, or whatever, and persist in that in with some kind of context provider or something. We'll create a form with validation, perhaps with React hook form. I've got this loaded. Maybe as we throw in some validation with Yup or Joy. I've used Joy in the past, but we'll try Yup for a change. And yeah, Userbase is quite cool. Like I say, it doesn't really require you to build anything in a specific way. It just gives you a bunch of JavaScript functions and a single library to use. Their SDK. So what I like about this is it is end-to-end encrypted. This does mean, however, if you forget your password, currently as it stands, there's no way to retrieve that because the way things are encrypted all happens in the browser. So if you go to a different machine and you try and log in, obviously you need to know what your credentials are to be able to log in. Because if you forget those, all of that kind of encryption is lost because it is saved to the browser. So that's kind of one downside, but I think they are working on ways around that where you as an administrator, I don't know the implementation, but maybe they are allowing a way for you to write a new key or be able to retrieve a kind of a hash key or whatever, or erase all of your data to start over. So I'll be interested to see what happens in that area and seeing how they improve there. And also, this is 100% open source as well. You can run this yourself on AWS. It's built on Dynamo in the back and a bit of S3 for their file stuff. And it integrates very, very well with Stripe as well for allowing people to sign up for a plan or a package. But I do know that they are working on allowing you to subscribe to multiple plans. So as it stands at the moment, if you want to connect to Stripe, you, as a Userbase owner of an app, you'd have to connect through the usual Stripe Connect flow. But if you're a customer logging in to Userbase, then you would have to you'd have to sign up to a plan, and at the moment you can only sign up to one. I think they're allowing that so you can maybe have multiple plans and pick from that way. So it's quite it's quite good as well. It's free for getting started. So what we'll be using today will be in the free tier where we have one app that has 3 users. There's no expiry on that, and you get access to pretty much everything. Obviously in test mode as well. So like if you want to add on payments, that allows you to integrate Stripe if you want to sell your subscriptions or what have you. And then they've got obviously upgraded file storage. So if you are dealing with kind of larger file storage, then you can upgrade to pay for that, and you get a bit more. So yeah, pretty good. Looks pretty good so far. Like I said, it is open source, which is always nice. So if anything was to happen with Userbase in the future, it is open source, so you can run it yourself and kind of continue development that way, which is always kind of good for anything that's kind of, if you think of authentication, auth, and I know Userbase offers more like file storage, in kind of databases. It's always nice that you can kind of run that in case anything does happen to that service in the future. Say it's discontinued or whatever, you can run that yourself, which is really nice. So maybe let's have a look at some of the stuff here on what we need to do to get going. So it looks fairly simple. I have used this in the past when it was very early days. I haven't used it in a while since though. So I'll try and get familiar as we go through this, and we can kind of just explore what's going on. So installing the SDK, we can either use a script tag, or of course we'll be using npm to install, because everybody loves installing from npm. And setting up the app ID, we've got that. So let's log in. I've already created an account today before we, So I have this app ID here. And that's all we need to get going is that app ID. There is no client secret or anything. It's all just kind of public. There's no users yet. We haven't connected the Stripe side of it. Maybe we can do it in this video. I'd have to check what Stripe account we can use, but maybe we can do that in another video or this video. We'll see where things end up. Okay, so we've got this app ID here. I'm surprised that when you do click on there, it doesn't kind of give you a quick start in here with your token, but it is just the app ID, so maybe I'm overthinking that. Right, let's head on in. I've got a folder here, nothing in it. Let's just do a simple npm init, and we'll get some dependencies going. We'll install React, React DOM, Next, and Userbase.js. And I don't think we need anything else. Yeah, we'll add React hook form now as well. I always forget the name. React hook form, and we'll install yup as well. So I am streaming a little bit earlier today than I normally do. That is just because something came up, so this video will be available if you were planning to join later. If anyone is joining, the 4 of you, 5 of you now watching, let's have some fun with this and see how far we can get in sort of 30 to 40 minutes. So while it's installing, let's go ahead and open that up, and we'll start to get started, I guess. So the way my brain is thinking right now with Next.js is we have pages, we have that app.js file, and this is going to need to import some kind of context provider that kind of stores the state of our application or user. Let's have a look at these docs. Where's these bad boys? Okay, init. Userbase init, app ID, then the session. So that returns the session. Okay, cool. If it's a user, there's an active session. Okay, otherwise it's going to bail on us. And then there's a third parameters. Okay, so there's an argument here we can pass as update user handler. And that's what we could do to update the not local storage, to update. Do we need local storage? So this update user handler, we could use that to set the context anyway. Let's maybe just look at creating that context provider now, and kind of go from there. So kind of the normal way in which I've done this is we need the good old create context from React. And what else? Let's not put it in the app file, Jamie. Let's actually create a file called context, or a folder called context, and the file auth inside of there. Let's then go ahead and import Userbase from Userbase.js. And up here with create context, we'll probably need useEffect, use reducer, and what else we need? Use context. Yes. So we'll probably need some kind of function now. Let's just have a look at the Next.js docs to get that root app file. There should be a CLI command for this, because I know there's not much, but I forget every single time what that looks like. So we'll import, I don't know, auth provider from the good old context folder, auth, and then we will wrap our application inside an auth provider. So anything, any other page will have access to our auth. So we'll create that function and we'll name it. What should we name it? We will name it. Should we do export const auth provider? Should we use an arrow function because those are cool. We'll need the children, right? And then we'll return. Let's just return in a fragment for now, just so we don't get ahead of ourselves. We'll save that. We'll also open the package.json. Instead of this bad boy, we'll add a script for next. And then we'll do npm run dev. And before I do anything, let's go ahead and create index.js. And then we'll just simply do export default hello world, because who doesn't love a good old hello world? Sweet, we are running on 3000. There we go. We got hello world. Great. That's it. Stream over. Right then. Thanks for joining. I'm just kidding. Let's actually have a look at getting going with Userbase. So there's that init command. Userbase init, app ID. How are we going to do this? So I'm guessing we will need some kind of state and dispatch function. And we'll do use reducer and we'll do initial state, is it? Initial state. Whoops, it's the wrong way. Reducer first, Jamie. And we'll call that reducer. And we'll create a function up here called reducer. And that takes in the state and the payload. We could just destructure the type and the actual payload from there. And then we'll do a switch on that type. And then we'll just say for the case where it is auth or set user, we will do return. We'll return all of our state. Not turn, Jamie. And then we'll pass in. What should we do? Should we do spreading the payload? Yeah. Const initial state. And we'll say this is authenticated. True. And then we'll say user is null. So I don't know whether this here we say set user and we set user there. So user is the payload. And we say is authenticated is true. I don't know. And then we'll do default. And then we'll just say, I don't know, return, no, we'll do throw new error. And we'll say, what should we say? Unknown action type. Right? So we have use reducer, which is using our reducer. And then our initial state. Okay, so I now begin to think use effect. And we'll set an empty dependency so this runs once on mount. And then it's here we'll need to create a function. We'll create a function called, because it's not recommended you do this. So what we'll need to do is set an async function and then call that async function. So we'll just say, I don't know, init userbase. And this will be an async function. And then that will call to userbase. And then we can just do init userbase in here. So it's this userbase.init, and we can just call it from here, can we? Yeah, this is kind of the initialize, so we wouldn't initialize it up here. We do it inside useEffect, so it runs when that mounts. So yeah, I do have a question, a comment about Userbase. We're using Userbase to kind of create some auth. Userbase is a pretty simple way to create some secure authentication. It's quite nice because it encrypts everything on the front end. It's end-to-end encrypted, so it's going to send it into Userbase, and there's a few good things about it. We'll explore a bit more, but first I'm trying to get this kind of authentication done, and then we can figure out the authentication stuff as well. So we're going to be calling some functions, I guess. SDK. It's got a bunch of different things here. So I didn't actually explore this before. I just dived into initializing. So the user side of it, you can do sign up, sign in, sign out. Oh, forgot password. Maybe that's new. Update user and delete user. Data, we can create databases that are end-to-end encrypted. We can insert, update, and delete those as well, which is good. We can share databases, so I can invite other users to access my database, which is good. And again, it's end-to-end encrypted. And then payments, we can do the whole purchasing of subscriptions and update those, which is cool. But we need this init command to get going. And I'm thinking we do, what is that going to return? It returns .user. Result session is what it returns. The object is session. And inside of that session is user, which is what we need. Okay, so we'll do const destructure user, and we'll say await userbase init, and then we'll say app ID is this here, and then we need that update user handler, and then we can create another function in here perhaps called update user handler, and that takes in that's going to take, what's that going to take? User. Well, that'll get the user, and then we can just do I don't know, update, you call it a dispatch function for update user. Do we need to call it is authenticated inside of there? I feel like, yeah, I feel like, I don't know. Let's figure out what that signature looks like in just a sec. So if we have a user, it's probably at that point. If there's a user, we want to update something. Let's just return a console log right now for that error. And then we'll put, if there's a user dispatch perhaps. And we'll say the type is, I don't know, what was it? Set user. And the payload will be user. Now, do we send it in? Should we just send user in there? I'm inclined just to send the payload as user and not an object with user. However, everything's telling me that I should just do it that way, and let's just do it like this for simplicity. And then for this one, down here for updating the user, I say we just do the same. Set user. We get rid of this update, and we just make it much simpler to update the user. So let's go to localhost 3000. Let's just refresh the page here. I'm guessing things are... We haven't made any mistakes yet. It's all still working. Okay, so we're probably going to need some functions now to update that state. Based on whether you want to sign up or not. So let's create const sign up. And this will take in some arguments here. Sign up takes username and password. Okay. Email, optional. So it's username and password based, which are required. And then we've got email, which is optional. As a profile as well, so we can set a profile about the user. I think when I last looked at Userbase, profile or email wasn't possible. I may be wrong, but that's cool. And then we get the user back. That's the object that comes back. Is user. Okay, so the user's password is never sent to the server. A hash gets computed client-side, and only the hash is transmitted and stored server-side. So that's cool. And that's obviously how it's end-to-end encrypted. The username, email, and profile are not end-to-end encrypted. They're encrypted in transit and at rest, but you'll be able to see that information from this admin panel. So we've got no users yet, but when we do have users, I'm guessing we can see their profile, username, and email there, which is acceptable, right? Like we need to know that information. Everything else, like their databases, will be end-to-end encrypted. So when remember me is set to session or local, the user's encryption key in session will be stored in clear in the browser's session or local storage. So if we set local, it will be saved to local storage. Let's use local storage. Someone with access to these values will be able to access the user's account and all their data until the user explicitly signs out or the user's session expires. If you want to avoid this, you will need to set remember me to none. When remember me is none, the user will always have to log in with the username and password. Okay, so yes, it's end-to-end encrypted, but if anyone was to get access to your machine, was able to load the browser, and was able to get access to your local storage, you're going to have a big problem. They're going to be able to, be you, if they can update their token with yours and be you, take over that. Unless you sign out, and then when you sign out, I'm guessing the server obviously removes that key, so then it is completely invalid, and the browser will create a new one when you next sign in. So that's okay, that makes sense. So we need username and password. So we'll destructure username, password. I'm trying to think if for now we just keep it super simple, and we just do const user equals await userbase dot sign in, sign up. That's what we're doing, Jamie. We'll say username is username, password is password. What else? Remember me. That will be set to local, which is good. Okay, and then if that's good, we will want to do a dispatch to set that user. And then that will be user we pass on because we get the user object back, right? We'll make this an async function. So that's looking good. I'm just going to copy that for sign in. And I am guessing sign in is exactly the same. Username, password, remember me. We get the user back. Sign in, remember me, local, set user. So that's pretty cool. We could be smarter about this function, and we could just, we could do something here to say, what the type is. We could pass the type down and say this is a login. Oops. Sign in, and then that would obviously call that function on there, but let's not be smart. Let's just keep it simple. And then these functions obviously need to be passed down. One thing we'll probably need to do is do a sign out. So we'll say this is an async function. I'm guessing we don't need to pass anything, right? We can just do we'll just do a wait. I did see the option before, userbase.sign out. Yep, doesn't take anything, just returns a promise. And then we'll do dispatch set type unset user. That doesn't really need to take anything. We'll just create case unset user. We'll say return initial state. So cool, we're making good progress on this auth provider. And we're probably going to need some context as well. And say we call this auth dispatch context and auth state context. So we'll do auth state context equals create context. And then we'll do the same for dispatch. We have a reducer, auth state context. And here, instead of returning children by itself, we will return the auth state, which has our state value. Auth state context value will be user. Then we'll return auth dispatch context. Now the value here will be sign up, sign in, and sign out. Then we'll return our good old children. So now we're making progress. Let's have a look. User is not defined. Because it's not user, it's state, wasn't it? Auth provider, nothing was returned for this render, which means a return statement. Yes, that is correct. Return. Render. What? Render is not a function. What? What did I do wrong? Ah, provider. Now it should be good. There we go. We're back to hello world. Cool. Kind of boilerplate. I wish I should just save this to GitHub because I more or less recreate this whole thing every single time I do auth these days. So on here, I'm going to need an index page. We'll need to import our state context, and yeah, let's import use auth state from not React, Jamie. Think. Context auth. We'll do an export default function. Call its index page. Then we will call is authenticated or user. And we'll do use auth state. Now I've actually remembered we didn't actually create that hook, which we'll need to create next. So we'll say is authenticated. Hello guest. Otherwise, hello username. So we haven't got that use auth thing hook. So we'll probably need to do that now inside of here. Like I say, I create this every single time. I should just find it in another project and copy and paste. Let's just do export default const use dispatch. No, use auth state is the first one we need, which doesn't take anything, but this basically is going to need to get the context. So we'll do context equals use context. And I know this is boring because we just set up this auth provider, but it should make sense soon, at least with what I'm thinking anyway. Auth state context. If there's no context, we'll say context is undefined. We will throw a new error. We'll say that the use auth state must be used within auth provider. Kind of makes sense, I think. Otherwise, we'll return the context. And you don't have to go as far as writing these curly braces. You can just keep it lean. Copy that, and we'll now name this state to dispatch. Then this should be okay. And then this says hello guest. So here's where we use the Userbase stuff. Let's go ahead and create a new folder for components, and we'll create sign up form. We'll go ahead, we'll import use form from React hook form. We'll export a default function. We'll call this sign up form. It won't take any arguments because we don't need them. And we'll say on submit equals handle submit, which runs the function on submit. We'll get to that in a sec. And first thing, we create a div. We create a input, and we say the type is email. Well, does it have to be email? No, it's just username. We'll say the ref is register, and it takes required true, and name will be username. Placeholder will be username, and that's about it. We'll then, we'll do the same for password, but this time it will make sense to make this a password. HTML. We'll say password, and we'll create that new div, and inside of here we'll put a button of type submit, if I can spell, and we'll say this is sign up. Now this whole register thing, what is this? What is this handle submit? Well, React hook form, that is where you come in. We'll take handle submit and register from the good old use form hook. And you can find out all about that on their website. I've used this a bunch now. It is really, really cool. I've used Formic in the past. I've used Redux Form way back when. But React hook form, it's hooks. Like, who doesn't love hooks? It's just really nice. It's just a really nice API. Even using their context provider and stuff, it's just really nice. They also give us errors. So let's copy this error. We'll add that there. But of course, it is not email. It is username. Then we'll put that inside of here for the good old password. And then there's errors. Guess what? We just destructure errors from the hook. And then we are good to go. Why don't we add some of that wonderful yup validation? And in here, this is where we need to put, I'm trying to think what it's called now. Is it validation? What is it called? API. It's not register, it's use form, right? Use form. I'm trying to think, is there a validate? Or a schema? Oh. Resolver. Yup, resolver. Hook form resolvers yup. Oh, I've not seen this before. It's cool. Let's stop the server, install that dependency. Could not find, as it does not contain a package JSON. Whoa. Wait a minute. There we go. Of course. I'm not thinking properly. I was given it a path to something that doesn't exist. Then let's import that old. And we'll import yup. Then we'll do npm run dev. Get things back to where we were. Then we'll go ahead and maybe we'll create some resolver. Is it resolvers? Was that what it was saying? We needed resolver. That's going to obviously take in. That will be resolver yup resolver schema. Okay, I'll do it your way. Schema, and then we'll say this is the schema, and the schema will be yup.object. Is that right? Yeah. And then the shape is username, because that's what we got. So we'll say yup.string required. And we'll do that for the password. Here though, password, let's have a look at the yup documentation. Is there anything for a password in here? No. Length. Email. Yeah, we could set a min. We could set a min on here. Min. We need 6 characters for our password. I wonder if you can do like must include one number or something. Whatever, we'll come back to that another time. Schema, so that should match up, right? So if we go to pages, signup.js, we'll import signup form from the components folder, signup form, export default, signup page. Uppercase, lowercase, I don't know case. We'll do return. We'll return a React fragment because how does everyone write fragments? I used to do it like this, but then I just started to do it like this. Not even that, just like this, which is just, I mean, guess if you're not used to React and you see this code, you're like, what is that doing? Of course, I need function. And then we'll insert that signup form here. Right. We go to here. We don't have anything here, so why don't we import a link? Import link from next link. Let's return a fragment. We'll say link href sign up. Sign up. I also want to do sign in. We'll make that page next. So then got sign in and sign up. You go to sign up. On submit is not defined. Sweet. Let's do that now. Const on submit. That will get the values. Yes, no values. There we go. Click sign up. How cool is that? Password must be at least 6 characters. Sick. This is cool. There we go. So that's the yup schema. That's just kind of given us these error messages by default, which is really nice. If we go back to yup, what else do we have? Yup. String. Let's do URL. I mean, this is just to illustrate, not to actually enforce. We do .url, and then look at this. Look at that. It's not a valid URL. That is cool. That is cool. You haven't got to really handle those error messages. These error messages are just given to us by yup, and then passed down through React Hook form, which is nice. Okay, so we will need to get the auth dispatch, I'm guessing now, from our auth provider, because we need to run this sign up function. Okay. We'll probably need to redirect as well. So values will go to values. We'll make this an async function. We'll do a try and catch block because later I would like to add some validation. And we'll do await sign up. And we'll pass in our values. Now, with this, I like to destructure the username and password just so I know exactly what I'm passing on. And then we'll catch that error. And it's at this point we could actually, if there's an error from this function sign up, it's not sign up form, it will be sign up. We can update the form to include an error of some sort, which is nice. So say the password was wrong or whatever, or Userbase returns an error, we could render that error on the form, which is good. So we're going to need to import use auth. Well, oh, did I name this weird? Use dispatch. Use auth dispatch. Yeah. From lib. From context. Auth. Then we'll get that good old sign up method from there. We'll call it here. Then we kind of need to redirect the user to there. I have a better idea. I do. Promise. Use effect from React. Because the way I read it with Userbase, if the user is logged in, they're not going to be able to log in twice. I'm guessing. I've seen an error before. Maybe you can. Because it returns. If you logged in, I don't think you can log in again. Maybe you can. I kind of get the impression you can't, but I guess let's find out. But going back to my great idea, let's say use effect will be, this will run when is authenticated is true. And then we'll get this from use auth state const boolean structure use auth state, and we'll run that hook. And if we are authenticated, at this point we will send them on, right? I suppose we're in the form. It would make sense to do this in the sign up page. Let's do import use router from next router. Const router equals use router. Then we will also do this authenticated. We'll import this here. Move that up one. And then we'll move this bad boy up here. And if we are authenticated, then we'll do router.push index. So then the route is in control of who can see it, not the component. Because we may want to show that component. I mean, you're never going to show it more than once, but we may want to show that on different pages and have different behavior. I don't know. Just seems wise. Okay, cool. So we've got to sign up. Whoa. Whoa. Are we logged in? Userbase seed. Maybe I was logged in previously when we've used this. Sign up. Weird. Let's get rid of this. What? Ha! Okay. We set is authenticated to true in the initial state. So that is why we are getting that redirect. Oh, please. What are you doing to me? I have no idea what's going on. Userbase current session. Were we previously logged in? Console logs state. Is authenticated as false. User is false. And we set at the index page, use auth state. Is authenticated. Ah, okay, wrong way around. It's Sunday. There we go. So let's now sign up, and we will say jamie@cartql.com. Create password. we'll just call this, I'll add a password. We'll click sign up. Oh yeah, or validation. Sign up. And that redirected because is authenticated changed. So that went back to the index. So now if we try and go to /sign up, it's going to kick us back. There's a little bit of a delay. There's a little bit of a delay. I'm wondering how we could get over that. Maybe we could have some kind of loading, or make sure that I don't know whether or not Userbase has some kind of param that shows us that it's doing something. Like that would be cool if we could actually get from Userbase that this thing is, you know, it's trying to find a session. That would be helpful. Because there will be cases like that where you do want to check whether or not there's, you know, it's loading. So let's refresh. And there we go. We can see that we have a user that's been created. And we can click on that user and we can get info here. Now there's no email we've saved. The password is, what did it say about the password? Was that encrypted? Oh, the hash. Yeah, the hash is sent. Where was it? It gave us more info. Docs. Okay, so I don't think it sends the password, but it sends the username, email, and the profile is unencrypted. Password is hashed, and the hash is sent. Cool. It gives you the Stripe data as well, which is cool. I'm guessing that's for subscriptions. So we got a username. Let's refresh. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So there's a little bit of a delay. There's a little bit of a flash because we are not logged in, and then it's making a request to, I'm guessing Userbase is requesting local storage to see whether it's signed in or not. Once that kind of resolves, it's then dispatching set user. So that's why there's a little bit of a delay. It's not instant. I'm not sure if there probably is a better way of using sessions to get around that. But the page couldn't be statically built then. We'd probably have to use get server-side props, which I don't want to do. It just means the page is not, you know, we're not getting any static benefits. That page will run every single time with Next. So we'll keep it in local storage because I don't see why not. There's cases where with local storage people don't, you know, and I'm one of those where local storage is probably not the best place for the token. And in this case, we've seen the documentation. If anyone gets that, they can actually be you. But I'm guessing the way this works is, in this case here, where we kind of want that benefit, it's probably the only way because, like I say, if we do want to use session, then we can't really have this statically built. Cool. So this is the user. Well, this is the state. So user has an auth token, a creation date, payments mode, which is disabled, username, and user ID. Awesome. Right. Well, let's do the sign-in form. The sign-in form, to me, feels like it's just a replication of this. Sign in. Let's check that double sign-in thing before we were talking about. We'll rename this to sign in. I kind of want to do sign in just to keep everything consistent. Now then, sign up. Move that to sign up. This will be capital U. Okay, cool. So let's create this sign up form. A sign in form, Jamie. Sign in, form.js. Let's paste what we've got there. Now here's the thing. Normally what I would do on a sign in page is I wouldn't enforce really some strict validation. And the reason is you could have signed up in the past with validation that doesn't meet today. So somebody comes along and updates sign in validation, then it could be a really tricky spot you find yourselves in. So I don't like to add a lot of validation to the sign-in page. Sign up is fine because the data's going in, but if somebody, say for example, we didn't have this min on sign up, well then, somebody comes to sign in and we've added min 6 as the minimum requirement. Well, they signed up when that wasn't enforced. So, they could only have 5 characters or 3 or 4 or 1. And they wouldn't ever be able to sign in without removing that. So I'm going to remove the min from here, and I'm just going to say, these fields are required. I think that's a bare minimum to log in. Your username and password is required. So this will be a sign in form. And then again, I'll take the username and password. And this time we'll call sign in, username, password, sign in. We'll go ahead and we will save that. And I'm going to go to /sign in. Just checking the comments there. Seems the same comment we had earlier was posted again. Could be an issue on my end. Okay, let's sign in. So jamie@cartql.com. We'll add our password. Notice there's no validation. And we click sign in. Now then, there we go. I thought this was going to happen. User is already signed in. Now this is interesting because typically you could keep signing in many times with other providers, and it would just overwrite the token. But it appears here we can't do that because the user is already signed in. So if we do get that error back from Userbase, we'd obviously want to show that error. And I'm guessing we could do set error here. And here we'll do set error. The name will be, I've forgotten the API for this. Set error. Set error for, let's just say username. And then the object is type. Now this type manual, type Userbase, I don't know. Message is error.message. Now this might not work, but we'll come back to it another time if it doesn't. But this is what I'm thinking right now. We have our email. We had a password. We get an error. There we go, already signed in. So the message back from Userbase is telling us, sorry, you can't sign in because you're already signed in. If we go back to the root, you'll see we're signed in. And that brief flashes obviously because it's checking local storage and it is waiting for the init Userbase command to finish, the function there to finish. So, yeah, we need a sign out button now, I'm guessing. So we can test that sign in. I'm going to add this thing here. Let's come back to it for sign up. Now then. Index. If we are signed in, let's return a fragment. And we'll do hello. Hello. Let's do this in a span. And we'll add a button and we'll say on click is to log out. And we'll add the text log out. Instead of use all state, we'll use auth dispatch. And we'll call log out. Save all that, click log out, and fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. It doesn't work. It's because it's called sign out, Jay. It's called sign out. Log out. Yay. Now if we go to log in and we choose our email, enter our password, click sign in. We won't get that error anymore that the user signed in, but it also won't redirect. It won't redirect because on our sign in page, we don't have that. Now we do when we refreshed, it's kicked us back to the index page because we're signed in. So this is cool. This is really cool. We can, I'm guessing next, look at updating the user. Update user, can we do this? Yes, we can. Update user, let's you update a user's account. This API will return a promise that gets resolved once the user has been updated. Okay. Okay. So that's fine. That's good. Is it going to return the user? Or just a promise? No, it doesn't look like it does. Okay. That's unfortunate. I would like to have the new user record back, please. I think that's... But that's probably a limitation on Dynamo. Okay, cool. So we've got basic auth done. Like, that wasn't too much work, right? We created an auth provider to manage the app state. We called their functions to log in and log out. And it's end-to-end encrypted. And we can obviously update the profile for the user. I feel like I want to explore the payment side, but maybe as we do create another stream for Userbase plus Stripe plus Next. That would be cool. We could do that tomorrow. Have a look at integrating Stripe and saying if you're logged in, you can connect to Stripe. I feel like that's probably worth exploring. But yeah, this is weird. I thought it would return the profile, not the profile, the user object, and not just return a promise that it will be updated. I get it, but you know, from a UX point of view, you click save. Yes, you could persist that to user, but is that init's never going to run again? Well, I guess update user handler will. Should we just try that and see what happens? I'm curious. I am curious. Edit profile. I am very, very curious now. Export default function edit profile page. Won't take anything in. We will return a H1. That will be edit profile. And we'll return a edit profile form. And we'll import that edit profile form from components. Should we call it edit user? Or update user? I don't know. This is when you start mixing terminology. Edit profile form.
So we need to create this now. And what we should probably do is do the same logic for sign in. Bring these bad boys down. Bring this across. And this. Then if we are signed in, if we're not signed in, kick them back to the home page. We'll kick them to sign in. Makes a bit more sense. So this good old edit profile page. Right, what are we going to do? We need this edit profile form. So let's go ahead and create edit profile form. And we'll export a default function edit profile form. Return. We'll return a form that on submit is handle submit, and it runs on submit. And the reason this is not looking good is because we are missing that. Now then, let's import everything we did on the center form. Not the center page, the center form. We'll import this. We'll do the dispatch. I'm thinking we do use auth state. And we can pre-populate the page. The form, rather. So let's grab this. I'll change this to user. And we'll do use auth state. Sign up, this will be update user. And we'll need to create that, won't we? Auth user. Update user. Update user. Update user. Sign up. Sign in. Log out. We'll do const update user async function that takes in can you change the username? Yes, you can. Current password. Current password. I'm guessing okay. So the current password, the current user password for the account required if new password provided. Okay, cool. That's good. Profile. So we can send an object. Sweet. I feel like we need to destructure something here. Or should we just do values? Then we'll do await userbase dot update user. Dispatch type. Well, we can't do that. We can't update the user because we don't have the user. So I'm guessing update user handler will run when that happens. So that's going to be interesting. Let's just return that. Update user. So this is what we want to find out. Update user. Const on submit. We'll do values. We'll say try, await, update user, values. Nothing's going to happen. Like, can't do anything at that point. But we'll do catch error. And we'll do console log error. And if there is an error that occurs from here returns these errors, so we could create some kind of switch statement on these to display here. We'll not go into that because it's a bit boring, but we could display it above the form, which is fine. I'll remove the errors because we're not going to deal with that at the moment. Then let's go to the sign-in form and just get those fields. So we'll say we'll get the username. I mean, we may as well do the password, right? You can change the password as long as you provide the current password. What was it? New password, current password. New password. New password. New password. So this is password. It's not required. New password isn't required. Now let's add an email field. We'll say the type is string and it's of type email. Should we make email required at this point? Nah, it's not required when you sign up at the moment, but maybe as we add it. So we'll say email. Password, that needs to be current password as well. Current password, I don't know. Do we get rid of that on here as well? Probably. Because, again, it might not be enforced. Like, they could have created the account. Although, in our case, it's not, but, let's go with the flow. So we'll say this is current password. Current password. Only required if changing password. Okay, so current password. Now I did notice we could do I think we can do can we do like it's required if it's not matches, it's what am I thinking of here? It's that field is required if new password is given. So can this have a function? The message. Okay. Was there a ref? Creates a reference to another sibling. Refs are resolved at validation. The schema that's evaluated validation. Lazy. Password. Yup, password. Say current password validation. Passwords must match. Well, that's not what we want. Yup, ref. That ref though, right? That ref. Where is it? Dot ref. Path options. What are the options? Context prefix. I would think this is common. Like, this is quite a common thing. Validate. We may have to come back to this. I don't want to waste too much time. The current password is required only when new password is given. So this here has to run required only if the other thing matches. So it's like this ref thing isn't going to work. Matches isn't going to work because we're not matching anything. Defined? No. I don't know. We'll come back to that. I don't think it's important. We do need to say this is a password though, do we? No. We've got email. Now let's set a... Can we do nested? Can we do a nested thing? For the profile? Nested schemas? So profile is of yup object. And the shape, let's add a profile field. What should the profile field be? Let's call this store name. I'm going to say this is yup.string. We'll give it a min of, say, let's not add a min. We'll just say it's a string. Or let's do webhook URL. Because I want to build something in the future with this. We'll just call this webhook URL. We'll just call this website or something. I don't know. Okay. So the edit form page, we will need to... We've got the whole password thing. We've got username. Let's add an email. Here. Email. Email. The type is email. I think we're good on that front. And let's just ask for a website. I might move the passwords below here. We'll just add a horizontal rule. We'll move that below. New password, current password. Did I duplicate that? Maybe I did. Required is... I don't think we need this anymore. I don't think we need this because Yup's taking care of that. So this current password, we'll change the name and we'll change this to profile.website. Website URL. And we go back and we go to, let's go to the index. Yeah. Maybe we can add this to app. Maybe we add this stuff to app, Jamie. We can't. We'll have to make a nav component. because we're not inside of here. We'll just leave it there for now. Let's make this a link. We'll do link href edit profile. We go to / edit profile. Click on our name. Errors is not defined. Of course, we didn't define it. Errors. Cannot read website of undefined. Profile website of undefined. Suppose that makes sense. We don't have profile on the user. Maybe we do default values here, and then we say default values as user. Website of undefined. It's not liking it. It is not liking it. Username of null. Hey, sweet. We haven't got a button though, do we? Div button type submit. We'll say save profile. So now, if we just go side by side, we open up this user. And if we go in here, now I've chosen my username to be my email, but I could put that in the email field and say my username is notrab. And then the website URL, we'll just put cartql and we'll click save. New password must be at least 6 characters. Whoops. So this is conditional. Where do we have that form? Whatever. It's only 6 characters if it's necessary. Password cannot be blank. What? Oh. Oh dear. So it's sending an empty password. Why are you doing that? Why? Let's move the password from this page. Maybe we should create another page for password only. That was a waste of time. Cannot read username of null. Ah, this is because it's not logged in. Ah. So yeah, when we're going to the edit profile page, this is happening. We could just say if there's no user, then return null. Of course. And it doesn't matter how many times you refresh that page, it will be null until that is authenticated is satisfied. Although user will always be null. But when it changes, well, it wouldn't change value, would it, if you're not logged in? So it will always just be empty there. That's why we need that loading indicator. It's much of the best way to deal with that. But you know, we'll say our email is that. We'll say our username is notrab, and we'll set our website to be carql.com, click Save Profile. And let's go back. And in theory, what should happen now, because I've changed the username, it should say hello no trap. Hey, and it does. So we've got edit in users now. Done. Cool. So we've gone through the update user and probably delete is worth doing. Mark the user for deletion. Let's just get logged in. Cool. So once we call delete user, it will automatically invalidate the session and log out the user, and the user's data will be purged from Userbase after 30 days. So let's just maybe, could we do that now? I feel like I want to put it on this page. No, maybe we'll do this tomorrow. We'll continue with this tomorrow. We've already done an hour and a half today. We'll continue tomorrow evening, and we will have a look at implementing this delete user button perhaps, and what else? We can have a look at forgot password and see what happens there, and then we kind of cover that. Then we can get on to some fun stuff with creating the shared databases and some of the CRUD around that. File storage could be good if you want to upload an avatar. That might be nice. We've got that function available to us, and we can upload multiple files. So that'd be good. Data sharing, we can share stuff, and payments. I think payments would be good tomorrow to have a look at. So yeah, we'll resume tomorrow. Thanks very much for watching today, and let me know if you got any questions or comments about Userbase. And yeah, until next time, happy coding.